My name's Jo and this is day 3 of my West Highland Way walk. I'm usually found on my narrowboat exploring the inland waterways of England and Wales with my husband Michael and my dog George, and that's what most of the videos on this channel are about. This is a new adventure for me and I decided I wanted to film it so I could look back on it in the future, and I thought that some of our viewers would be interested in seeing it too. I'm in Scotland with Lorna, who's also a narrowboat owner. In fact, we came up with the plan to walk the West Highland Way back in May when she joined us on our narrowboat for our trip across the Wash. She's also got a YouTube channel which I'll link below. The West Highland Way is a 96-mile trail in Scotland that runs from Milngavie just north of Glasgow to Fort William. We're walking it over 6 days and staying in hostels, hotels and guest houses along the way. Our bags are being delivered to our accommodation each night, which means we only need to carry the essentials for the day. So far we've walked just under 30 miles on the first 2 days. Today is day 3 and we think we've got a whopping 20-mile walk ahead of us. In fact, we end up walking over 22 miles today. The first half of the walk is incredibly tough and it takes us along the eastern shore of Loch Lomond.
Good morning, we have just woken up. It's about 7:15, 7:30, the sun's coming up. We're slightly refreshed from yesterday. Really nice hostel. Well, it was tired and old, but it was cheap and we had a really good dinner last night. They've made us a packed lunch for today and a packed breakfast is probably ready in a minute. And yeah, 20 miles to do exactly today, so we're going early and we're going to pace ourselves but make progress on the flats, because right at the end of the day there's a bit of a hill, so that's something to look forward to all day, but in good spirits and ready to go. You ready to go, Lorna?
Yes, I am. Although I'm ready to stay here forever.
It's lovely,
so
isn't it?
pretty.
Really lovely.
Yeah, I'm glad we got up early to come and see it. I would
Yeah.
be disappointed if we'd missed it.
Almost sunrise, but don't know where the sun is today. I think it's going to rain. So we ordered a lunch and a breakfast from the hostel, which is just behind me. We're just leaving and I managed to squeeze it into my bag, which wasn't much spare room in, so I'm carrying a little bit of extra weight today. But it's 8 o'clock, so going nice and early. The sun's just come up and we're excited for 20 miles. I did say I wasn't going to film as much today because we've got quite a long way to go and it's going to rain probably, but behind us is Ben Lomond, which is pretty much pretty close to where we stayed last night, and there's a waterfall at the top and it looks really pretty. Just come across this cutest little honesty box shop and this is my favourite bit, the dog biscuits. And they don't have a price on them because of course dogs should just get the biscuits. So the first mile or so has been along the loch side, although we couldn't see the loch because it was completely shrouded by trees, so we got a few little glimpses. There's lots of water coming down in little streams off the mountain, and we just started our first climb of the day. I think we're coming up to 2 miles now, and that's right. I think we're coming up to 2 miles now, and it's mostly been along the side of the loch. We're getting more glimpses of it. There was a little beach a little while back. Oh, now another climb. We thought being alongside the loch it would be flat, but it's up and down a lot, but nothing too high. And so far the weather's been lovely. I was just saying I brought 3 fleeces with me, and so far the most of the walking I've done in just my t-shirt and my jacket. Maybe I'll need to layer up when it rains more, which it's probably going to do this afternoon. But yeah, the weather's been perfect so far. Okay, just had a warning from Lorna to be very careful. We're only at 2.5 miles now, and that last half mile has been so slow because the ground has been very narrow, it's been very undulating, and there's been rolled boulders and rocks and ups and downs and like streams coming across the path from the hills. So really slow, but we're still by the lock, and yeah, slow start. So I'm glad we left early. And there's a tent set up behind us, if you can see it. So someone's obviously wild camped here. What a lovely spot to sleep.
Have we hit 3 miles yet?
It's been really slow. Four miles in, and we've reached the mossy forest. Five miles in, so 1/4 of the way. But that was a hard 5 miles. Well, it was for me. How did you find it?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. You had to really concentrate.
And there was just so many ups and downs. Like, we're still by the lock. I think we will leave it at some point. But yeah, you go up and you climb over rocks and roots and water and waterfalls and slugs. And then you go around a corner and you just go down again. And it's just been like that constantly. So it's been slow because of the ups, and it's been slow because, yeah, you had to just look at where your feet are the whole time. So yeah, little breakfast break, or second breakfast break at 5 miles. We're going to stop at 5 miles, 10 miles and 15 miles today. And yeah, that's the plan anyway. Still dry, hopefully it stays that way. This is our little bench where we stopped for our 5 mile breakfast. So just set off after lunch, and we were hoping to find somewhere near the water to sit, and typically we've come back down to the water. This is where we should have had breakfast.
0 miles. Average pace 28 minutes 36 seconds per mile. The current time is 10:54.
Just coming up to 7 miles, I think. So we're a third of the way, and Lorna is doing a good job of pacing us. She's just ahead at the moment. I think I would push us to go faster, which would probably come back to haunt me at the end of the day. So I'm very much enjoying Lorna's pace, and we're just about on the 30 minutes per mile, including stops. So we're on track. The walkers have their own entrance. Lorna, do you want to fill up your water? I've just got to the Investmade Hotel, and Lorna has popped in to use the facilities, and I'm taking the opportunity just to sit down.
The trail is really hard going here. It's really rocky and there's many ups and downs. We were not expecting this section to be so difficult. Our pace drops to over 45 minutes per mile, and I start to realise that if we don't make up some time, we're not going to make it to our guest house before it gets dark.
You can't see the footpath at the moment. We've been scrambling over rocks, and we're quite close to the edge with a bit of a drop down to the loch. So yeah, all good fun.
I don't feel much more over a lot of that section, but when the trail improves, we try and walk a little faster.
We're 9.5 miles in now. We're about 2/3 along the loch for today. We're more than that overall, but we're following it to the tip, and nearly time to stop for lunch. It does feel really nice. We found a little beach to stop and have lunch, and I of course am having a little paddle, and it is like ice, so I'm definitely glad we didn't take a swim this morning. Now we need to carry on really, because we're cutting it a bit fine on our schedule for today. So yeah, we've got 5 hours left of daylight and 10 miles left to do, so yeah, need to keep pushing. We're off again after lunch, and it's just more of the same: rocks, up and down, little streams and roots to climb over, and in some places you can't even see the path, it's just big old rocks to scramble over. So progress is slow, but we must be coming towards the northern end of the loch now, and the people we met at lunchtime said that after the loch it does get a bit easier, so fingers crossed they're right.
Just a short stop for lunch today, as I'm really aware of how slow we're moving. If the terrain doesn't get any easier, we won't be able to make up the time we need to. I feel okay, and I could go faster, and while Lorna is putting on a brave face, I can tell she's finding it tough. So while the path is this bad, this is as fast as we can go.
Maybe that's the last of it, Lorna. I won't don't count on it, but... You want a break?
No,
from there, yeah. We finally left the lochside. Had to climb up quite a wet rocky path up for about half a mile, and now it's opened up and again it's just beautiful.
I thought we'd left the waterside, but as you can see, we're still enjoying the stunning views across Loch Lomond. The path has got much easier now, but the first half of today's walk really seems to have wiped Lorna out. I mean, we both found it hard, but the combination of the ups and downs and the extra concentration you need to navigate safely over such uneven surfaces has really taken its toll.
Time 6 hours 29 minutes 20 seconds. Total distance 12.0 miles. Average pace 32 minutes 26 seconds per mile. Split pace 29 minutes 31 seconds per mile.
It's 2:30 in the afternoon now. Sunset is in 4 hours. We think we've got 8 more miles to do, and so we really need to keep up this 30-minute per mile pace to ensure that we arrive before it gets dark. I really don't want to be obsessing about our pace, and it's not something that I thought would dominate the walk so much, but I am concerned that if I don't keep us on track, we're not going to make it, and we don't have a plan B.
So we think we've reached the northern end of the loch now. There's a ferry to the other side just down there, and everything's gone this really beautiful green and brown colour. It's just absolutely stunning. The views are amazing. We're both down to t-shirts now, but I think there might be some rain coming. "13 miles done, coming up to 2/3 of today done, and it's just stunning up here. I can't get over how pretty everything is. Still no sign of rain, but could still happen.
We get to a campsite at Rowardennan, and in hindsight this would have been the best place for us to stop on day 3. But when we were booking our accommodation, we had no idea how tough the first half of today's walk would be. We still have over 5 miles to walk today, and so we've got no choice but to keep going. At least the path is relatively easy from here on.
Yet another hill, but at least on this one there's a nice wide path that's fairly well surfaced. Do you want to stop here on like 15.4 or something?
No.
Okay. So just over mile 15, and we have forgone our 15-minute stoppage. Lorna thinks if she stops she might not start again. So we're just keeping going. Less than 5 miles to go, we hope. And yeah, Need to get there before dark, which we should do. "16.5 miles. We've come down a little bit. It's 4:30. 2 hours till sunset.
This is the last thing that Lorna needs right now. The bridge is gone and there's a diversion up the hill in place.
Not happy about the diversion. It's all uphill, it's really muddy, and it started to rain.
We've realised that the West Highland Way doesn't actually pass through Crianlarich where we're staying tonight. We have to walk over a mile off the trail to reach the village and our accommodation. All day we've been pacing ourselves to walk 20 miles, but the total distance we actually need to walk today is nearer 22. It's a really silly mistake to make, especially considering a similar thing happened yesterday. Lorna is still putting on a brave face and persevering, determined not to stop, and I hate to keep on at her about our speed, as I can see she's hurting, but I'm really worried about the prospect of us still being out on the track after dark.
We're so nearly there. We've done 20 miles, which is what we thought we'd do today, but we need to look out for a turning off on the right, which will take us down into the town, but we're probably going to be finishing in the dark because it's going to start getting dark in about 20 minutes, which isn't ideal. I can see a signpost. So this is where we leave the West Highland Way for today and head down towards our guest house. So it's pretty much dusk now, so not an ideal time to be walking through the woods, but Lorna's down there with her head torch and I've got a torch in my back, so we'll be fine. It's really not far to go now.
Poor Lorna is really suffering now. It's been such a difficult day and she's showing so much tenacity to get herself to the end. It's really frustrating though, as we're only a mile or so from our accommodation, but she's running on fumes and barely able to keep moving. And there is civilization at last. We're really on the home stretch now.
and I'm potentially happier than I was when we arrived yesterday.
It's 7:10 in the evening, and we arrive at the guest house to the warmest welcome. We've walked over 22 miles and have been out on the road for 11 and a half hours. Time to eat and then sleep.